What's your story? Whether you're a client or an independent financial advisor, we know you face many important decisions that can affect your and your clients' long-term financial success. Welcome to the WIN Podcast, What's Important Now with Corey Heimensen, accredited investment fiduciary and president of Heimensen Wealth Advisors. In this podcast, Corey helps you identify your goals and objectives through financial education and comprehensive planning, while inspiring you to make better behavioral decisions in your personal finance. With a twist on pop culture and current events, join us as we explore growth and protection strategies for individuals, advisors, and their businesses. Come and discover what's important to you now.
Welcome to the What's Important Now podcast with your host, Corey Heimensen. Hey, Corey, it's good to be with you. You got an interesting kind of topic on the table today. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. You know, the objective is to bring our A game.
Well, yeah, you've got the A game on here, but what I find most interesting about this maybe is that it's like, this is an episode, if you will, grossly simply, about spending money, and you're a financial advisor. So
yeah, exactly. And so even before I go to the title, let's go through a story along those lines. You know,
yeah,
it is common for new clients or new people to come to my office and they say, I have an advisor somewhere else, and he or she just gets mad if I want to take money out of that office. And I look them in the eye and I go, that's because those advisors get paid to manage money, number one. Yep. And so that also tells me, if I connect the dots, that they don't manage enough money to compensate themselves for what they think they need. So when they lose money out the front door, that hurts their pocketbook. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of like the adage, you get what you pay for in life. One could argue that you want to deal with advisors that are highly successful because they're looking out for you. They're not looking out for their pocketbook or keeping assets under management to get paid.
Yeah.
They understand the bigger picture that life is absolutely about spending the money that you worked hard and built and saved and accumulated if you want to. Some people don't want to. They feel the safety and the safety net of having money, or their parents or grandparents went through the Great Depression. They have this fear of breadlines and stuff like that. So I get it. If you want to hoard the money, pile it up and then pass it on when you're gone, great. But if you want to spend it, I know a guy. I'm the guy to help you. Help you plan. I don't have to go on the trip.
Implicit in what you're saying is this sort of, there's an underlying value, I guess, in what you're saying, which is it ain't all about accumulating as much money as you can accumulate. You need to be enjoying yourself. You need to be doing what that money that you're managing allows you to take advantage of, right?
Right. And we've said that before. Father Time is like undefeated in the sports world, right?
Yes.
And I think you touched on it last time that, people can make money, they can lose money, but time ticks by. We can't make more time, but we can be better stewards of our time. And that means being productive in it. And it means making memories and experiences, because those stick with you better than the greenbacks,
Exactly. You can always make back your money, but you cannot ever make back your time.
There you go. So when I did the initial whiteboard sketch of what this show was maybe going to look like, I wrote the title, Time Matters. And I was like, about 10 seconds later, I realized how boring and drab that was. So back to the lab, back to the whiteboard. So we're going to call this Artificial Intelligence Bucket List.
Okay. Artificial intelligence bucket list. I mean, look, I'm not going to be a critic here, but I don't know if that's any more exciting than Time Matters. But, it's your podcast, so go ahead.
We've already started the recording, so we're not scrapping this and starting over and burying this in the edit team. So we're doing it.
Well, then what do you mean? Then let's get to the meat of what you're talking about.
Okay. There you go. So, I mean, AI, artificial intelligence, it's the buzzword. I know we've referred to it. We've talked about it a little bit, but I wanted to go down a different path of like you said, spending money, making experiences. What does that look like? Or how can we start this journey? Because I read these stories or these stats that people spend way more time planning vacations each year than they do on analyzing or planning their finances or their future retirement or things like that. You know what I mean? Their priorities are a little out of whack, potentially. And so I went to the artificial intelligence, the fancy robot computer, as they say. And I don't know who they are. I guess I just said that. But I mean, if I typed in there, hey, for example, my wife and I have 2 kids, their ages 6 and 8. Where could we go for our next 10 annual family vacations? And literally in 10 seconds, it kicks out the report. And I'm not saying people should go do this exactly, but I just want to go through it because it connects and it spells to something, you know. And so it says, hey, absolutely, good plan. Year number 1, you go to Disney World or Disneyland, one of the big theme parks. And most everybody I know has probably experienced that in one way or another. And I kind of liken it to, you probably do need to check it out once in your life, but I don't think I'd go 20 times.
I went once. We took the kids once, to Disney World, and it was a lot of fun. But yeah, and it was great. And I don't know that I'd do it again. I have a friend though who he and his wife are timeshare members at Disney, and they love it, and their kids love it, and now they're presumably here not too distant future, the baby grandkids when they get bigger will love it as well.
Sure. And I mean, that even ties into what we're talking about. I believe they probably like it for the experiences in an ongoing fashion, more so than the accommodation of how nice that timeshare bed or bathroom is.
Yeah, no, it is a family experience. Nobody, I'm not aware of any one of them ever going down there by themselves and escaping escaping responsibilities. It always involves a number of people going. Yeah.
Sure. So I'm going to go through this list of 10 and then we can wrap it together on what just happened or what was suggested to us. So the second one was like a national park adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, things like that. So that makes sense. I can see that because it's different than your normal day-to-day living for most people. Number 3, beach retreat. Go to a beach outside of North Carolina, Alabama. So not high-end type locations, but just family friendly.
Oh, no. We do that. We do that at the risk of creating a stampede to Cape May, New Jersey. We go to Cape May, New Jersey at least once a year in the summertime and take the kids, and it's a great time and totally relaxing.
It's funny you'd say that because my wife's idea of vacationing is going full throttle and cramming in every possible activity you can from that geographical location. And I'm more of a
I'm getting those little grandsons down on the beach. I'm letting the sun beat down on them and just salt wear into them.
So they go to bed at like 7 o'clock at night.
They're like, it's like 6:30. They're like, we're tired. We're
perfect. So then the next one, cultural city exploration. So this is talking, it's a fancy way to say, hey, go to Washington, D.C. or Philadelphia, Boston, something with some history to it. And, and I get that. I flew into Washington and saw it from the sky, but I have not done the whole tour. That'd be something on my list that I would like to go, see the sights there.
Yeah.
The next one, cruise adventure. So this is, take a family-friendly cruise, which again could be a Disney event or water slides, all that good stuff. Year number 6, mountain retreat, Rockies, Swiss. It says Swiss Alps. That'd be a stretch for a family, but I get it.
The Smoky Mountains. That's where we used to. When I was a kid, my dad was a real big national parks camping out guy, and more than a couple of times we put on the trailer and went and camped out in the Smokies. Great fun. Good memories.
Well, there you go. Next one on the list, international trip. So this is like, but it was more closer to home. So it's talking like maybe going to Canada or into Mexico. Next one, theme park extravaganza, it says. So this is, major roller coasters, Legoland, Universal. So again, this probably falls into the Disney camp of minimum of one and done on the bucket list for people, but maybe not an every year journey. Or a couple of years ago, I rode a roller coaster, and by the time I got off there, I realized my age. It's like, damn, that was a lot of jerking around. I kind of feel like my neck's out. Anyway, learning a lot about me. Number 9, outdoor adventure. Maybe this is rafting or camping.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Number 10 on this list, historical road trips. So this is saying Gettysburg, Civil Rights Trail, things like that. That makes sense. So,
well, no, that makes sense. And I just want to throw in here because my son and I used to go. He played soccer. He played soccer when he was younger, and there was a national tournament that his team always participated in Gettysburg. And while we were in Gettysburg, we made it a point to go on tours and walk the battlefields and walk through the museums and go to things. And that was, I have to say, just a more than once kind of experience. It was terrific, and it was great to feel a sense of connection with history, so that your kids can understand it's gone on longer than just them, if you will.
Right. No, that's very true and very refreshing. And I'm having a flashback. We did a family vacation and watched a Civil War reenactment. And I remember, they started it, didn't know what to expect. And there's, the first guy gets shot in a fake way, falls down. I mean, he lasted like 3 seconds from the start of this event. And then he laid there for a half an hour without moving, and my eyes asphyxiated on him, or affixed.
Corey, that's not what you're supposed to have been looking at. Okay.
So I missed all the big action because I kept, my eyes focused on this guy, just wondering if he's going to come out of character and move. and then I thought to myself when it was all over, is like, that was a really cool thing, but he must be the new guy. You know what I mean? He doesn't have any seniority.
Or the old guy.
Maybe
I take a nap about this time of the day every day. So if you shoot me first.
He didn't want to do much running or any of that stuff. That's a whole aside. But anyway, point of this little exercise, in just literally seconds, the computer, the artificial intelligence, put together a 10-year list of things that essentially was aging with your kids. You know what I mean? It is thinking about the steps and the progress that makes sense. It isn't just throwing 10 darts at the map and then stringing them together. I mean, there was actually a conceptual plan to this that develops over time. And so once I saw that, I'm like, well, we got to type in a new question now, so, let's go back to the artificial intelligence. Now I keyed in, hey, my wife and I are in our 50s. We live in the Midwest part of the country. Give me the next 10 years of vacation. And it kicks out something that's quite a bit different, as you might imagine. And so I'll kind of go through these pretty quickly too, but then we can tie it all together. So step one, or trip number one, cultural exploration in Europe. So this is like, hey, go to Paris and Rome and Barcelona, and, and you're looking at art and fancy cuisine and art and history. And I mean, pretty high end. It was my initial reaction. And then as I go down the list, it's national park, but then this time it suggests maybe fancier location. I don't know if you'd say fancy, but more grand, like the Grand Canyon, for example.
Right.
Is a different outing than Yosemite. I don't know. I'm just pulling up names, but you can tell already after 2 steps or 2 trips in this list, it's got a different feel to it. And so the next one, it's also a beach retreat. Now we had that in the first list, but now this one's talking about the Caribbean or Riviera Maya or Maui in Hawaii. You know what I mean?
A little more upscale.
Upscale. And so number 4, take a river cruise in Asia.
Ooh.
So you're on the Yangtze River in China or the Mekong River in Cambodia and Vietnam. And, this is stuff you don't think about. This isn't on the top of your list for most people.
Right. This is interesting, though, because this is a touch. I'll say it this way: it is these vacations are a touch more sophisticated. They imply a modicum of success at that point in your life.
Agreed. Totally agree. If you key in this exact same question without children in the equation and say you're in your early 20s, I mean, is it kicking out Jersey Shore and South Beach? I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? Probably. And so you're right. And that's my point of this. I'm not saying computers are going to take over the world, but what I am saying is they're pretty smart in identifying likely traits, so to speak, or assuming that the people in their 50s have more money than the young parents with young kids.
Yeah, totally.
And so it's kicking out trips and experiences that are deeper into the pool stuff.
Yeah. It's an interesting list.
Yeah, so I'll knock these other ones out pretty fast. So historical tour of New England, again, similar to the other one, which was talking Washington, D.C. This is more like Salem for the witch trials, Boston, makes sense. Next one, wine tasting in Napa Valley. Like you said, this is higher end. This isn't a corner liquor store and you're buying Mad Dog and Boone's Farm.
Yes, I mean? Yeah, exactly. And people with 6 and 8-year-old kids aren't going to drag kids around through Napa Valley vineyards tasting wines, right? So, or at least I hope not.
Jimmy, you got to cleanse your palate before you take the next one. No. And so the next one, Canadian Rockies tour, Alaskan cruise, music and food in New Orleans. And the last one on the list, African safari. I mean, this isn't a light venture. I mean, you go to Kenya or I don't know what else is down there, Tanzania. This is big dollar stuff.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
But again, it's big experience stuff too.
Yeah, it is. It is. I knew a couple who took an African safari that was on horseback. And they said it was an amazing experience because they would get up in the morning, they would mount up, and then they would ride, and the tour group people would strike the camp and then move everything forward to that destination for the day, set it up so that by the time they got there, it would be all set up and they would be in their tents, and they had it had a gourmet dining experience, and they said it was just amazing experience.
Yeah, and my first comment there is, you can't really put a price on that experience. You can put a price on the trip.
That's why I mention it, because it's like I think about that every once in a while and think I don't have a clue what it cost them. I did not ask them what it cost, because when they were telling me about it, it never occurred to me, honestly, Corey, to ask them, what'd you pay for that? Because I kept thinking, wow, that is so amazing. That just sounds so incredible.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it cost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you had an idea going in what it was going to cost, and if you were good with it then, by all means, you're going to forget about that 20 years from now, but you won't forget about the tiger that chased you or whatever. Right.
No, you won't. No. I think about doing an African safari on horseback. I think, wow, what an incredible time. That just had to be so great, which goes back to your whole theme of, if you're making your money and you're managing your money, what do you do with it and how do you enjoy it? Right?
And I see that all the time. There's people that are good at accumulating and making money and building it.
Right.
And then they just don't know how to spend it because they're so ingrained in growth mode.
Yeah, and I know we're all different. I know that, some of us are more inclined to spend and some of us more inclined to really hang on to it. And we could probably do 5 podcasts on the different mindsets and why that's the case. But, to your point, there's no, whatever it is, there's no point to accumulating. Accumulating money is not an end to itself. If you want to get somewhere, if you want to do things, then do them. If you want to take that money and donate it to philanthropic causes, I suspect that would get your wholehearted endorsement as well. Because it's like, what do you do? How do you enjoy what you've made and what you are making?
No, you're spot on. And a lot of consumers or investors don't quite understand the whole relationship that a good advisor or advisory firm brings.
Yes.
So in this exact whole thing we just rambled through, I mean, if 2 clients came in my office with this list of the 10, higher end trips or vacations, we'd say, yeah, that's great that the computer kicked that out. Now let's put a personal touch on this and talk through these. My job as an advisor is to tell you what the pros and cons are of each action you take,
Yeah.
or essentially each larger ticket item you spend on. I'm not here to shame you and tell you can't do it. I'm here to tell you consequences, But if if you're afraid of water, don't go on the cruise. Let's weigh through not just the brochure front page. Let's talk about what that whole trip looks like.
Yeah.
Can your back withstand riding a horse for 7 days?
Important question.
And then,
And if you hadn't ridden a horse in a while, can your thighs withstand riding a horse for a couple of days?
So you can tell I'm not really a horse riding type guy when I don't even know what part of the body is going to be injured by the horse excess.
You could be pretty sore if you've been riding horses. You might find a horseback safari a little painful.
Fun story. I left my house this morning. It was inside the house, but of course I was trying to save a step, so I didn't turn the light on. I missed the last step at the bottom, came down funny. My neck hurt. It's like, damn, that's in my own house. Okay, anyway, that's a true story. People are out there listening thinking we're making this stuff up.
You got a lot of people listening to your podcast. I don't know if you want to be admitting that.
Okay. So the point of that is in about 10 years, I probably need a house with no steps. Yeah, I don't know.
There you go.
But point of all this, it needs a personal touch, and the best way to do that is with another human being. An advisor you trust, a professional accountant you trust, or a lawyer you trust. I mean, we go about this, but seriously, we connect the dots all the time, and it all comes back to the same damn answers. In life, you can learn a lot about following the trail of money, to get answers, but you also need people to help you navigate difficult things in life in order to have more time, in order to have more experiences, to appreciate those experiences. And by all means, you want to spend your money, let's put a plan together and have you understand how rapidly the money will be depleted based on different scenarios. And good advisory firms run all that for you too. And most people don't spend money like clockwork and spend the exact same $214 every day. You spend it in waves. You take an expensive trip once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Buy a car once in a while. And then you pay all your normal bills all the time, so there's some budget items, but I mean, you got to save for a rainy day, but it's okay to spend on the sunny days.
Amen. Amen. Solid advice from a solid financial advisor. So Corey, if anybody's listening to this podcast and they're thinking, I might benefit from our conversation, or at least I might have an interesting conversation with this guy, how do they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Give us a call, 800-657-4316. And I joke because we believe in, artificial intelligence can help your life to be a little more efficient in certain ways, but we still believe in personality and personal touches. So somebody's going to answer that phone with a human voice when you call it.
A real live person will answer the phone. I talk. That's great because Corey, I yell at robos that answer phones. So that's good. That's good to know.
There you go.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks so much. And thank you for taking the time to listen today, folks. If you're not a subscriber already, I would say that the simplest thing you could do all day today is just hit the subscribe button. That way you don't have to remember where or when you heard this podcast. Whenever Corey puts out a new edition, you will be notified and you won't miss another edition of What's Important Now. And if you like it, tell people about it, spread the word, get the word out there. Word of mouth is just phenomenal in terms of, getting the news out about something you find interesting and find even useful, as a matter of fact. And for those of you who, by the way, missed all of the contact information, it's in the show notes. Don't worry, if you're driving your car, you can check it later when you get home. You'll be able to get a hold of them. Fear not. Until next time, I'm Bill Tucker on behalf of Corey and everybody at Heimensen Wealth, thanking you for listening to the show and reminding you that you can go out today and make it a great day. Or not. It is your choice. Thanks so much for your time and listening.
Thank you for listening to the WIN Podcast. What's important now? The show that helps you achieve your financial dreams. To ask questions about topics covered during the show or get a copy of Stop Doing Dumb Things with Your Money by Corey Heimensen, visit www.heimensenwealth.com or give us a call at 712-472-3867. Don't forget to click the follow button below to be notified when new episodes become available. Securities offered through Securities America Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Securities America Advisors Inc. Heimensen Wealth Advisors and Securities America are separate entities.